Hello there, everyone. Michael here. I'm going live on YouTube right there and Instagram right there. So, what I'm going to be trying to do over the next couple of days, I've essentially got a month off of teaching lessons, and I will go absolutely crazy if I don't have any teaching to do or lessons to go through. So, what I'm doing is a free guitar Q&A. If you play guitar and have any questions about guitar playing, about learning, about teaching, anything guitar related, you have an opportunity to ask a question and get your question answered here. If you want to come on the chat live, I can give you a critique on your playing, whatever it is. So if you play guitar and you want to learn how to play guitar better, get an answer to a question, whatever it happens to be, I'm here. Just type away in the chat and I'll answer your questions one by one. And I have prepared a couple of questions that I asked my students a couple of things they needed help with. So even if you're watching this later and we have a repeat of yesterday where nobody asks a question, I can at least answer a few things and make this video of value to anyone that watches it a little bit later. So I've got a few people on Instagram. I've got Grow Kit Guitar. I've got Jay Hatch. I've got Freddie Parker. I've got Lauren Thomas Wilson. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate you coming on board. And on YouTube, I've got a couple of people watching. I can't see who you are on YouTube until you've commented. So please, if you've got a question you're thinking about, you need an answer to with guitar playing, just type that in the chat and I will get around to it. But while I answer that question, I've got a question from one of my students saying, what are some effective strategies for mastering challenging chord transitions? So whether you're a beginner learning how to play chords for the first time, or whether you're an intermediate or advanced player doing quite complex chord changes, the exercise is pretty much the same. So let's just say I'm going from a C major chord to a G chord. What I essentially want to do is three things. The first thing is I'm going to practice what I call finger push-ups. I'm going to squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax. And I'm going to do that as roughly 10 times on the G chord, C chord, and then roughly 10 times on the G chord. And what I'm doing here is I'm developing the muscle memory of that shape. So I'm kind of like preempting what's happening there, and I'm squeezing and I'm relaxing, and that's going to help me memorize the shape, because if you can't memorize a shape, you always got to pause and think what's coming next. If you pause and think what is coming next, then that hesitation is going to come up in your playing. The second part of that finger push-ups is what I call strum, mute, lift. So you're going to strum, mute, lift back down, strum, mute, lift back down. And what you're essentially doing is you're training your hand to get good at playing that shape by just moving up and down. You're moving all three fingers at the same time. So you do 10 of those on each chord and 10 of those on the other chord. And then what I want to do is what I call moonwalks. I want to imagine I'm on the moon and I'm going from a C chord to a G chord, nice and slow. It's as if I'm underwater or I'm on the moon with zero gravity, and I'm going from one chord to the other chord. And you notice I'm not going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm training all three of my fingers to move at the same time, because if they move at the same time, they arrive at the same time, there won't be any hesitation. And you can do this with a strum every now and then just to make sure you're getting it ringing out nicely. But as you can hear, or as you can see, as soon as I add the strum in, I have to think about what's happening with the strum. So it's kind of more important if I go back the other way and go from one to the other. So that's the first two parts. And if you're just joining me, I see there's a few people, especially on Instagram, logging on. This is a live Q&A. Type your guitar questions in the comments and I will address it with a little personalized lesson for you. So the third part to transitioning is what I call rapid fire changes. So how you practice is how you play. If you always practice going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, then when you go to play something with chords in it, you're always going to basically stop and go 1, 2, 3, strum, 1, 2, 3, strum. Likewise, if you look at your fingers, you make sure they're okay, then you look at your strumming hand, and then you change, you look at your hand, you're basically baking in a pause into all the practice that you do. So when you play, you're going to end up pausing. It's just how it happens. So how do we solve that? We do rapid fire changes. So you're going to put the picking hand in control. The picking hand is going to strum no matter what. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And even if I'm not ready, I keep strumming. I do 4 strums on C and I do 4 strums on G. And even if my fingers aren't ready, I have to change from one back to the other. What will eventually happen is your fretting hand, rather than dictate to your strumming hand, hey, wait, I'm not ready yet, your picking hand will actually, your fretting hand will catch up. It will just learn how to do that change. So whether you're doing complex chords or whether you're doing simple chords, the process is the same. If I'm doing, for example, this C chord, this G chord, and there's quite a lot of change happening there, same thing. I would squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax. I would do that 10 times. I would do that 10 times. I would strum it, mute it, lift it. I would strum it, mute it, lift it. I would practice the moonwalks where I go from there to there, nice and slow. And then I would basically do the rapid fire changes and go from one to the other without any pause or without any hesitation. So that's basically how I'd navigate that change. And if I had to do, 4 chords, I would do each of the individual changes several times, and then I would start piecing them together. So that is how I would navigate that. We got a few more people joining us live. Hello to Leo, hello to Robert, hello to Romeo, and hello to Chris and Jason. So this is a free Q&A live guitar talk. If you've got any guitar related questions, please just type them in the comments and I will take the time to answer your question. And if we're not getting any questions, I will just go to one of these ones which my students asked me and wrote down an address for everyone there. So Chris, I can see you're watching at the moment. If you have a question, feel free to fire away. Someone on yesterday's stream, not during the stream, but after my stream, asked, what are some good exercises to limber up your fingers? So there's a couple of ways we can go, but what I find is that almost everything you do falls into one of 3 shapes. I call it a red pattern, a green pattern, and a blue pattern. So let's just say I go to fret number 5. A blue pattern across the space of 4 frets would be my first finger on fret 5, my third finger on fret 7, and my pinky finger on fret number 8. So I would just practice going 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, and training myself to use and play those 3 different fingers, 3 notes with 3 fingers. Now I can come up with a ton of different sequences. I can go 5, 7, 8, 7. I can go 5, 8, 7, 8. I can go 8, 5, 7, 8, 7, 5. I can go 5, 7, 8 across 2 different strings. But the idea is that these are shapes you're going to come across in real life playing. I used to do all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 chromatic exercise and 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3, 1, 2, 4, 3. And yeah, they can kind of build up dexterity and control for your fingers. But unless you're playing Flight of the Bumblebee, you're never going to really be doing something like that. So you can put in tons and tons of hours of just playing mindless exercises, and yeah, they will help a little bit, but they don't really relate to anything you're doing in real life playing. Whereas this blue pattern, 5, 7, 8, for example, if you play the minor scale, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8. If you do the major scale, blue pattern, these little scale fragments, as I call them, come up all the time. So 5, 7, 8 is the first one. That's what I call a blue pattern. I can see Travis just joined. Travis, welcome to the live stream. I can't see who's joined me on YouTube, but feel free to ask me a question. WLF jokingly asks, how do I jack off better? The trick is you get a girlfriend. You don't jack off like a loser. That takes away time from practicing guitar, you silly Billy. Just waving at Trav there. So in terms of these patterns, the second pattern is the green fragment. So if I was on fret 5, the green fragment would go 5, 6, and 8. Fret 5, fret 6, fret 8. So that would be... And again, you can apply tons of different sequences to these 3 fragments. Now, the third fragment is what I call the red pattern. It is a 5 fret stretch. I use my first finger on the lowest number, which is going to be 5, my pinky on the highest number, which is 8, and my second finger on the fret 7, which is the middle number. And the sequence, once again, doesn't really matter. You're training your fingers to play these extensions. Now, let me give you an example of how these patterns work with a 3-note per string major scale. Here's C major. I'm playing fret 8 on string 8, 10, 12 on string 5 and 6, 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12. That's our red pattern in action. Then I'm going to play 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12. That's the green pattern. And I'm going to play 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13 on strings 2 and 1. 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 9, 10, 12, 10, 12, 13, 10, 12, 13. And that is these red, green, blue patterns in action. If I go to fret 5 and I play the A minor scale, blue pattern, red pattern, red pattern, red pattern, and a green pattern on top. If I take the E natural minor scale across string number 1, 0, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12. If I go 0, 2, 3, that's a blue pattern. If I go 2, 3, 5, green pattern, 3, 5, 7, red pattern, 5, 7, 8, blue pattern, 7, 8, 10, green pattern, 8, 10, 12, red pattern, 10, 12, 14, red pattern, 12, 14, 15. That is another blue pattern on top to finish. So if you take any consecutive 3 notes from the natural minor or the Ionian scale, then you'll get these 3 fragments. Now there's an additional 1 in harmonic minor, actually additional 2 in harmonic minor and melodic minor, but of course we can talk about those later. So Travis, I can see you're still tuning in. If you've got a question, feel free to type it in the comments and ask away. If not, I'll just go to one more of my pre-asked questions. Diminished Destiny asks, what is my favorite scale? Tough choice because it really does depend on the moods. I really love the sound of the altered scale or the 7th mode of melodic minor there. So it's this scale here. Now, I'm a bit of a jazz tragic. I'm not all that good at jazz, but this one sound that's eluded me has come from that scale there. So that's sort of where I get that one from. Another question from one of my students was, how can I improve my speed and accuracy while playing complex passages? So the advice here is, if you can't play it slow, then you can't play it fast. A lot of students, particularly my teenage boys, are just playing everything as fast as they can all of the time. And I had a student yesterday who was trying to play Room 335. And the fingers were flying all over the place. My advice to him, and my advice to anyone that wants to learn how to play things fast, is you first have to memorize it and be able to play through the idea fast at a slow speed. So for example, if I've got this, I'm just going 4, 5, 7 on string number 3, 5, 6, 8 on string number 2, and then 5, 7, 8 on string number 1. So before I try this and make a mess, I need to be able to go super slow. Now, if I can't do that slowly and smoothly, then there's no way I'm going to be able to do it fast and smoothly, or fast without it sounding messy. So I just need to slow it down. And I gradually speed it up. And I can get out the metronome, and I can train myself to start playing at particular tempos. And I can start using the metronome to help me find out how fast I can do it, and just like weightlifting, measure my progress over time, with the metronome being a tool for measurement. Elton's just joined us on Instagram. Hey, Elton, this is a free guitar Q&A. If you've got a guitar-related question, please type it in the chat and I will answer it for you. So if I can't do that smoothly, then I can break it down into smaller chunks. Can I do this? So I can build up the individual speed of that fragment. Then I can build up the speed of this fragment. Then I put them together, first slowly, or even the first note. I just might have to practice that transition from one string to the other. And then I add in the extra notes. Then I practice the transition from the second string to the first string. Slowly. Remember, I'm demonstrating here, so I'm trying to do everything fast for you, but I would start painfully slow until I can nail that transition without any mistake. Then I would build up the speed. And once I have the speed of all those together, I can start putting it together, and I can start putting all these things together bit by bit. But if I can't get this smooth, then there's no way that I can go and put it all together like that. So you need to start one chunk at a time, just like Lego. Chunk 1, chunk 2, put it together. Chunk 3, chunk 4, put it together. Chunk 1, 2, 3, 4, put it together. And that last little speed run, what I would be doing with that is just one string at a time. Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I go from this one to the first note on the next string? Can I do all 6? Then the same thing on strings 4 and 5. Can I put 6, 5, and 4 together? I keep on just making it longer and longer each time. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. And if you're watching this a little bit later, hopefully you will find these questions helpful. I'm going to make these somewhat regular. I'll probably schedule them. So if you do have a question, you can log on and you can ask me. And hopefully we'll grow this into something which is really cool and helpful to you and a lot of other people. So if there's no other questions, you have 15 seconds to type a question, or at least say me to buy yourself an extra 15 seconds. Nope, looks like our last person has logged off. So if you joined, thank you so much. Let's get some more questions happening next time, and I'll see you later.